Well, hello there, Leo. How are you? It's always so good to see you. I'm Mary Sue, and I'm so grateful that you're here. So, today we're going to take a look at the end of 2025, see what is going to be occurring for you in October, November, and December, because this is the end of a 9 year. 2025 is a 9 year, but it's also the end of a 9 year cycle. So, that means in 2026, we are going to be planting new seeds because 2026 is a 1 year, and thinking about what it is that we want to take forward with us in 2026 and what we're done with at the end of this 9 year cycle. So let's jump into it. Let's see what is on the horizon for you. Bat Spirit, a rebirth is assured, and solitude. In silence, peace prevails. Okay, so this is the hangman energy. There's something here about over the next 3 months, allowing yourself to really sit with things. This is not the energy of taking a lot of action. I feel like there's something here about seeing different perspectives, right? Because out of this bat energy, it's also the number 5, and fives are all about change. Understanding that life isn't where you really want it to be, and allowing yourself to kind of sit with that and figure out, okay, then if life isn't really the way I want it to be at this time, where do I want to be in 9 years from now, right? Really allowing yourself some time to kind of sit with that and ask yourself, you know, I want to say, I feel like there's a little bit of an energy here where you've really evolved and changed a lot over the last 9 years. Life could be totally different. Of course it is for all of us. We've been through a pandemic and everything else, right? So it's kind of like allowing yourself to recognize how much you have grown in the last 9 years. But it's also a little bit about allowing yourself to close that energy up, right? And say, okay, even the more difficult things that have occurred over the last 9 years, asking yourself, what did I learn out of that, right? Because that's how we do that final bit of healing with, relationships or situations that either have come to an end or have not grown the way that we wanted them to. So this is the energy of really sitting with it, asking yourself, what wisdom? Both of these are about wisdom. What wisdom have I gained? What have I learned? Because I feel like there's something here about recognizing if you don't allow yourself to sit with this, you may have to go through another 9 years of repeating the same lessons. It's almost like this is important. Write it down. You see how she almost has like a book there, right? Allow yourself to write it down. Like don't sit there and think, oh, I'll think about it. I'll just keep it up in my head. There's something about really writing it down. I'm going to say too, there's an owl right there on her shoulder. So that represents the Hierophant. You've gained so much wisdom. It's kind of like, write it down. It's kind of like, okay, it's a little bit of the energy of, I am not a very good cook or baker, okay? But my grandmother was. And people would say to her, oh, how did you make this pie or these brownies? Or she was a big baker. And she would be like, oh, well, do the, blah, 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 flour, sugar, whatever. And then people started saying, no, write it down. Like she was just like, because she didn't really write any of the recipes down. She knew them, right? And it was, no, can you please write it down for me? And I feel like there's something there about you allowing yourself to write down exactly what has occurred in the last 9 years and then sitting with it and saying, okay, what did I learn out of that? Right? What bit of wisdom do I want to take forward with me? Yeah, I think you're trying to rush out the door. Yes, you are. I totally get it. I'm a Gemini, and Geminis and Leos have some other similar energies of we don't want to deal with our emotions. We're just going to pull up our bootstraps and keep on going, right? But that's what is preventing you from starting the new year in a good way. Allowing yourself to say, okay, I have this fresh start. January 1st, there's a fresh start. It's about allowing yourself to clean up, right? What isn't working? Are there conversations you need to have with people, either at work or in your family, your friends? It doesn't matter. It's kind of like, okay, I'm not carrying any heavy weight with me. It's time to bring things into balance, especially perhaps in relationships. Because see, you have this 5 of Swords here. It's kind of like, well, is this, right? The 5 of Swords is a difficult energy. And remember, you have a 5 here, right? It's kind of like, am I just pretending that, you could have had in the last 9 years a very difficult situation, betrayal or whatever, with someone that is really close to you. And maybe you've patched it up, but maybe you never went back and really talked about this or had a real conversation about how do we prevent this from happening again, right? What plan do we have? What strategy is in place? I think there's something here where you're fearing that the rug is going to be pulled out from underneath you, either in a same situation or a relationship that you have, or in something new. And it's kind of like, that's why Spirit's like, oh, wait a minute, bring that into balance. Don't take this 5 of Swords with you. You only want to take the things that are working in your life forward with you. So it's time to take this sword, right? And cut out any people, situations, mindsets, beliefs that are not going to bring you happiness and joy in the next 9 years. Because here you are, this is what I'm saying, I can relate. Here in October, you're just like, I'm just going to move off into the new year. I'm just going to just leave this job. I've had all this toxic energy in this place. I'm just leaving it. I'm out the door, taking steps in travel, right? I'm out the door. This relationship, well, is really not working for me. So I'm just out, right? But understanding that is sabotaging your happiness in the future, because it's about sitting with it. What part did you play in this? And that part might just be that you didn't stand up for yourself, right? You didn't create healthy boundaries in this relationship or situation. Somebody could have hurt you deeply, but then you never kind of really got that back into balance. You never had that conversation with that person about how much it hurt. You just kind of like picked up and kept on going. So Spirit is saying it's really time to take a look at the last 9 years. Allow yourself to recognize what situations, this is so funny, this is the number 5 also. What situations over the last 9 years were difficult that maybe you even, dodged and left the building. You just, yeah, no, I'm moving on. Like, didn't really have that conversation with that person. It's allowing yourself you don't have to have a conversation with that person unless you want that person to go forward into 2026 with you. But this is you sitting down and writing it out, right? Writing a letter to that person. You don't have to send it. This is more for you, right? Allowing yourself to write a letter about what you would like to say to this person. And then also writing a letter to yourself. What did you learn out of that? How will you take that situation and do differently in the future? It's not about just going through the experience and healing from it. It's also about taking the nugget. Oh, I can't believe this. Here for November, you have a nugget, the golden nugget of wisdom with you. It's kind of like allowing yourself to recognize, I got to look deep. I got to see what went on in that situation. why did that person just suddenly, turn on me or ghost me or, why did I allow that person to keep backstabbing me or disrespecting me or taking advantage of me? Whatever it is, it's kind of like allowing yourself to sit with that and recognizing that that's usually because we're trying to keep ourselves safe and secure. It's our fears that prevent us from speaking up for ourselves. And that's what you're doing. You're looking at the nuggets of information that you have gathered on your path, and you're figuring out, what do I want to build in the next 9 years, and how can I use this information to create a solid foundation, good healthy boundaries for myself and for the people that I'm interacting with as I move forward. I think that's what you're doing in November. You're kind of like, in October, you're kind of reassessing what has occurred, what you have learned. In November, you're really applying that. How is that going to help me as I move into this next 9 years? Because then in December, you are taking action, but you're taking action out of love. And I want to say, you have the conflict card here. I feel like for some of you, it means that you are saying goodbye to some people that don't want. You're creating some healthy boundaries here in November, and they're kind of like, wait a minute. And you're kind of like, yeah, that's kind of like the litmus test, right? When you share what it is that you want to do, and people around you suddenly are not supportive of that because it's affecting them in some way, that's okay. They can walk away. But it's also a good litmus test for you to see who's on your side and who is not. Yeah, you after 9 long years, you are seeing the truth. You are seeing the truth of who is on your side. You're allowing yourself to say, I'm only taking these people with me as I move forward. I'm not taking the people that are not on my side, that don't respect me, that don't love me for who I am, that betray me and then kind of pretend that everything's okay, and then they do it again. It's kind of like, it's not like you're trying to protect yourself from being backstabbed. Instead, what you're doing is you're creating your own energy field, right? That just doesn't even allow those types of people into your life. Oh, wow, that's pretty powerful, Leo. That's why you have all of this spiritual energy here, right? It's just kind of like oil and water, right? It's just kind of like they're just going to fall right off. You're going to have such a healthy energy around you because you're respecting yourself. You're creating healthy boundaries for yourself. Even if toxic people kind of come in, they're just going to slide right off this beautiful bubble that you're putting around yourself. You're not going to have to necessarily have conversations in the future with people about, these are my healthy boundaries. You're just showing up with those healthy boundaries, right? And your energy as you move through the world is going to radiate those healthy boundaries. That is such a powerful energy. Yeah, you don't even have to talk about it. People are just going to know. Have you ever seen somebody that you just know, they know who they are? It's like, yeah, not going to even mess with that, right? I mean, in a good way. They're confident, they're open, they're friendly, but you also know they know who they are. You're not going to be able to take advantage of them or disrespect them. You don't even want to, right? If you want to be a part of their world, you're just going to show up in your highest energy too. Wow, powerful. All right, Leo, let's pull the soul truth card for you for some final advice. And I do personal readings, so if you're interested, the link is in the description box below. I'd really be honored to do a reading for you. Yeah, what risk can I take today? It says, be not mistaken, you will have to take bigger risks than you ever thought possible on this path towards your dreams. You will have to take the big scary leap, but do not fret because your soul has wings. I think the other thing here is that you're understanding that you cannot soar. You cannot have those wings, right? When you're constantly having to drag negative energy based on the people that are around you, or the fear that those people are going to backstab you, because then you're always looking around, right? It's kind of like allowing yourself to say, yes, if I cut this anchor, right? This is an anchor. I'm cutting this anchor off and I'm allowing myself to soar. That is a beautiful energy. That is such a gorgeous energy for the next 9 years. Wow, powerful. All right, Leo, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I really appreciate all your support by liking, commenting, and subscribing. And I hope to see you again really soon. Bye for now.